freedomslips.com. And this is August 2nd, 2016. So I'm going to have what I'm going to call an odds and ends show today. We're going to do the curse removal, energy balancing, probably in the second half. I have some good news, some bad news, some interesting news. And I'm going to have Linda Wagner come on. And she is an obesity survivor. That ought to be very, very interesting. So while we're waiting for her to come on, I just want you guys to be aware, and I brought Mary Olson from the Nuclear Information Resource Service on, and she caught us up to speed with, she went to Japan and what the nuclear industry is doing over there and what the people are experiencing. And she also talked about something really, really interesting and what I consider an insane idea brought to you by our, of course, government and what they want to do in our United States. They want to ship, and we've talked about this before, nuclear material from Upper Canada, around the Michigan, Toronto, and that's way up north area, all the way through the United States, all the way down to the lower southern part. And why? Because they want to make more plutonium. Now, it's bad enough that they got to ship this material through the United States, but it's going to be liquid. Yeah, I know. How insane is that? They just keep coming up with more and more things that are really insane. And I'm not saying that they're smoking some bad crap, really, really bad. It's mind fucking these guys. Oops, sorry. Oops. Didn't mean that. It's mind screwing these guys. To ship liquid nuclear material down our freeways through our towns is absolutely insane. So I would suggest, if you don't want that coming through your neighborhood, you might want to call Mary Olson, who is with the Nuclear Information and Resource Service, and she can guide you how to react, what to do, how to do it, when to do it. And her number is 828-252-8409. It's 828-252-8409. Her website is www.nirs.org. That's Nuclear Information and Resource Service, nirs.org. It's time you took some action because it's not cool what they want to do. And if you don't think that's cool, let me read you and get you up to date on our nuclear radiation report this week. And Bob Nichols puts this together. And guys, if you are around any city that I haven't talked about with the radiation level, and you've got a Geiger counter and you're doing this, well, call me or email me on my website or Facebook and give us the information. We'll put it on air. People need to know about this. Don't make it a secret. The government isn't doing it, so it's up to us to get this out. So, any normal radiation is 5 to 20 CPMs, and anything over that is bad. All right? Anything over 20. Low number, 20. So we are going to start with the highest and go down to the lowest. And let's start with Phoenix, Arizona, 2,186. Yeah, that's way over 20, you think. Colorado Springs, Colorado, 1,711. Louisville, Kentucky, 1,916. San Diego, California, 1,645. Portland, Maine, 1,591. Little Rock, Arkansas, 1,390. Raleigh, North Carolina, 1,446. Champaign, Illinois, 1,431. Rochester, New York, 1,428. Navajo Lake, New Mexico, 1,367. Mason City, Iowa, 1,363. Worcester, Massachusetts, 1,355. Idaho Falls, Idaho, 1,299. Harrisonburg, Virginia, 1,297. Spokane, Washington, 1,234. Louisville, Kentucky, 1,199. Pierre, South Dakota, 1,199. Kansas City, Kansas, 1,185. Fresno, California, 1,177. Billings, Montana, 1,173. New York City, New York, 1,171. Madison, Wisconsin, 1,159. Hartford, Connecticut, 1,155. Bakersfield, California, 1,152. Casper, Wyoming, 1,134. Riverside, California, 1,103. Denver, Colorado, 1,102. Atlanta, Georgia, 1,099. Des Moines, Iowa, 1,076. Charleston, West Virginia, 1,066. Tucson, Arizona, 1,043. Lexington, Kentucky, 1,030. Aurora, Illinois, 1,021. So there's 34 cities that are actually reporting radiation above the 1,000 CPM level, which is pretty sad because, over 20 is bad. Good Lord. I mean, and then you've got, I don't know, that does disturb me. You can call it, if you want, the undeclared nuclear war on the world, brought to you by all our governments who are complicit because they are certainly silent and are doing nothing to solve the problem that's going on in Japan, where they've had that nuclear accident 5 years ago. And it's gone around the world. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. So you've got to remember, you've got to be vigilant. You have to do your cleanses. Take extra vitamins and get a Geiger counter. Be careful of what you eat. And use reverse osmosis water if you can. It's crazy times out there. But knowledge is power. And I don't forget at all that there's radiation in the air from Fukushima. I don't. And I cleanse. I do extra vitamins. I call myself high maintenance. But it's not like it was 30 years ago, and we didn't have to do any of that stuff. But we weren't breathing high radiation. And then fly, it's worse. And how many people have bought cars and stuff from Japan since 2011 and the nuclear accident there? And if you have, are you crazy? Any car coming from Japan, I don't care if it's a Honda or a Toyota, if it's coming from Japan and you buy it and you put you and your family in it, you are driving around in a coffin and you're radiating yourself and your family because all that stuff is nuked. And even if you buy a car from here, from Toyota, for example, and it's put and assembled here in the United States, you're going to have to ask them, where do you get your steel from? And if it's from Japan, you're not going to want to buy that car, are you? Because again, you're driving in a coffin, a radiation coffin that will kill you and your family. Cancers, everything. That kind of gives new meaning from for used cars, huh? Especially made after 2011. So you've got to be careful. And actually, if you go to your VIN number that's on the car, and every car has a VIN number, if that first letter is a J, it means it comes from Japan. And you may want to think twice about getting it. Personally, I wouldn't buy any brand new car knowing it was from Japan. And our government shouldn't even be allowing this to come into our country, for God's sake. At least Australia has sent some of it back. And they test the cars. But, when they test it here, they can send in 1,000 cars in the United States, and they'll test one filter to see whether or not the car is radioactive. I mean, really? How criminal. All over money. Well, if you love yourself and you love your family, and friends don't let friends buy cars from Japan anymore. And it's not that I want to put those people out of business, but actually I do. All they have to do is move their businesses out of Japan into another country. And if that's their choice, to stay in Japan and keep soaking up that radiation, well, then let it keep them in Japan. But don't let it come in and let my family and friends drive it, because that's friggin' criminal. Matter of fact, you better kind of make sure where your car part comes from. And again, if it comes from Japan, that may not be a good thing. I went into a restaurant, and you don't understand how much is radiation, and it can affect us. And I went out to one of the restaurants, and I don't usually eat there. And I actually, for the first time, we decided to eat in, and they had these beautiful countertops made out of granite. And they're probably like 20, 25 countertops people were sitting on, as tabletops. Granite is radioactive, by the way. Now, one may not affect you. Well, it would if you kept using it, every day, and put your food on it, and you're kind of gently, radiating your food. And when you sit, near it, you're getting a slight dose of radiation. But when you got 25 tables, I started getting dizzy. I started getting nauseous. I started getting a headache. And I looked at my friend and I just said, God, we've got to go sit outside. And we did. And it all went away because I was no longer in that room with all that granite. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful tabletop, but it's going to kill you. So before you do any construction work or anything like that, you might want to check on what stone you're getting and if it's radioactive. And in this time, you don't want any more radiation into your life than you have to. You know what I mean? Well, I do have some good news. And while we're waiting for Linda, we've been working on the governor of Michigan, Governor Schneider, doing some energy work there and for Flint. Governor Schneider, what he did and his cronies, he changed the water supply, and when it went through the pipes, it now became lead, and it's totally undrinkable and killing people. And then they played stupid for a long time, ignoring the problem. Well, 6 Flint government employees finally criminally charged. And 6 government employees have finally been criminally charged in district court in connection with the Flint water crisis. Among those charged are Michigan Department of Health and Human Services workers Nancy Pelier, Corinne Miller, and Robert Scott, and Michigan Department of Environmental Quality employees Leanne Schechter-Smith, Adam Rosenthal, and Patrick Cook, according to Robert Allen of the Detroit Free Press. According to testimony in Flint's district court, Michigan Attorney General Bill Schuett and Todd Flood, the Royal Oak attorney, heading the AG's investigation, called an 11:30 a.m. news conference at the University of Michigan Flint in order to further discuss the criminal charges. Allen explains that in April, Schuett announced felony charges against 2 Michigan Department of Environmental Quality officials. Along with them, a city of Flint official was also charged. He additionally has promised that more criminal charges will be forthcoming. Mike Glasgow pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor charge and is said to be cooperating with the investigation. I hope he's under guard because a lot of people have disappeared around there. The DEQ employees, Stephen Bush and Mike Prisby, are still awaiting preliminary examinations. A civil lawsuit has also been brought against engineering and consulting firms who were linked to consulting contracts on the Flint water treatment plant. The civil lawsuit, which was filed in Flint in Genesee County Circuit Court, says that the engineering firm Lockwood, Andrews, and Newman, an environmental consultant, Viola North America, as well as other related companies, are guilty of causing the Flint water crisis to occur, continue, and worsen. Both corporations have, of course, repeatedly denied any wrongdoing in spite of the evidence. And, I'll be really thrilled when Governor Schneider actually gets charged. Well, welcome, Linda. How are you?
Hi, I'm wonderful. How are you?
It's a pretty awesome day today, I have to say. And thank you for coming on my program.
No, thank you very much for having me on. I'm really excited to be on your show.
Yeah, and you did it all last minute, so I'm really thrilled. Thank you.
Wow,
so,
I appreciate it.
Well, you wrote a book calling As Is Confessions of a True Fatty, and when I read it, you gained and lost over 1,000 pounds over the years. You actually was over 400 pounds.
I was a big girl. I was a very big girl.
Well, gosh, I think that's absolutely amazing that, you're able to reverse it like you did and actually come out and, talk about your weight problem.
Well, I thought it was about time to face the music and face the reality that I've had a weight problem just about my entire life. And instead of, going crazy about it and struggling with it, I said, you know what? I'm not the only one. 80% of the people in this country are overweight. And of that, 35% of them are considered obese, and most of them are considered morbidly obese. So why are we hiding behind something that's so obvious to the world that we're fat? And is it a big deal? Is it the end of the world? No. So I thought, come out and tell the truth. And I bet if I admitted all my little dirty, nasty secrets of food stashing and food addiction, maybe somebody else can take a look at themselves and say, you know what? I understand. I relate. And I'm not that bad.
Well, I don't think people realize that there's over 500,000 new cases a year in obesity-related cancer. Now, I've never heard that before. Obesity-related cancer.
Isn't that off the charts? I mean, can you imagine? I never, ever knew that cancer could be related to obesity. But through the years of learning more and more about dealing with myself and the issue of obesity, the amount of cancer and children are getting type 2 diabetes as young as 4, 5, 6 years old. You never heard that. It used to be, the middle age, 40 years old, and be careful, here comes type 2. Now it's getting into our children, and we gotta get a grip on this.
I think they've got to stop vaccinating the children at birth and expect them to actually, develop an immune system, which I don't think they want them to do to begin with. That's why they're giving them vaccines at birth. But I'm sure that's got to throw off your total body metabolism when you're getting all this crap in you, especially when you're that young.
Well, I'm not a doctor, and so I can't really speak to that, But I do know one thing, is that a lot of times obesity starts sometimes when you're very, very young simply because of genetics. In my case, my whole family has dealt with being overweight, most of us. It's just in our genes, and it's crazy to see that many fat people in one family. It's usually unusual to see that many people that have a weight problem in a family, but not for us. It's the norm.
When you got to be 400 pounds, and that must have been a gradual thing, what was it that said, I can't do this anymore, I got to shift my train of thought and get rid of this?
When I was 48 years old, my youngest son passed away. And prior to him passing, we spent 2 years looking for a heart for him, for a heart transplant. And unfortunately, he did get one at the end, but it didn't work after a month, and I lost him. And what I noticed is prior to him getting sick, when I was 45 years old, prior to him getting sick, I never felt my weight. I never felt the 430 pounds I was carrying. When he got sick, and the immense emotional and physical struggle it was to try to find a way to get through this 2 years of what he was going through, I felt like I had aged years and years, but my body felt it more than anything else. And I got to the point where I said, I can't walk, and I used to be able to walk. I can't do things anymore that I used to be able to do. My weight was now getting in the way of me living the life that we all deserve to live. And it would be the last thing my son would want, is to see me deteriorate to that point. So I had gastric bypass surgery. And honestly, it was the best thing I had ever done for myself. Why? Because, one, I lost over 250 pounds, and two, I got rid of my diabetes.
Linda, can you tell us what gastric bypass surgery is?
Gastric bypass surgery is when they cut your small intestine from your small intestine, and they sew it, and it bypasses, and just it gets sewn directly to your stomach. It doesn't go through the duodenum and all that other part. It gets sewed directly to your stomach, and they make a little teeny tiny hole the size of a dime, and they make the stomach the size of an egg. And this way you can't hold too much. But the stomach is very, it's like a rubber band. It will expand over time. And that's why 50% of people who have gastric bypass surgery, or any type, lap band is even worse, the statistics show that within 5 years they gain at least half of their weight back. I made it 5.5 years before I started gaining weight back, and I put on 115 of those precious 250 pounds I lost. So, it's to help you stop needing, and you feel full. You can't eat. You can't keep much down. And it's wonderful. I used to cook for everybody, and they'd come over, and I'm making these wonderfully gourmet meals, and I was okay not to eat. It was just simply being able to give. Because for me, feeding my family and my friends and sitting around the table is a tremendously social event that I love. It's one of my favorite things to do. But it didn't matter that I couldn't eat. I was losing sometimes as much as 1.5 pounds a day, that within 6 months I had dropped 250 pounds. It was awesome.
Oh, wow. That's like a whole person.
Oh my gosh, it's like a linebacker.
Yeah, well, I was going to say a big person. Well, what made you want to eat?
I've always been an emotional eater. One, growing up in a family that had a grocery store, so food was always accessible to me. And I used to work in the grocery store from the time I was 9 years old, weekends, in the summer, every day. I would just, top some zingers right into a magazine and hide it from my family, and go and have my break and enjoy those packages of zingers. It just, everything was emotionally driven for me. If I'm happy, I want to eat. If I'm sad, I want to eat. I wish I was one of those people that when I get depressed, I can't eat. But the truth is that's just the way I am. And then when I was 14, I went on Weight Watchers, and I went from 196 pounds down to 142 pounds, and I was a happy camper. Had a great high school and beginning of college life, and then of course I get married and I move away from my family, which I'd never been away from, and wanted to be the best homemaker and cook and wife. And here I'm making all these meals, but I have nobody around me. I was felt isolated because I had left a huge family, cousins at next door and down the street and around the corner, to live in a town that I didn't know anybody. And the boredom and the being away from my home and everything, I started eating and I started putting on weight. And at the end of a 13-year marriage, I had put on over 200 and some pounds. And I was like, whoa. And it's funny, you don't see it. You see it, but you don't. It's just, okay, I've gained a few pounds, I'll lose it. And the next thing you know, a few pounds is 10, and then 50, and then 100. And then after a while, the habits are so ingrained as to how you deal with things with food that you're unable to see beyond that. It's very difficult to stop.
Well, you call yourself a foodaholic.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In my book, I talk about all the different places I stash food, sneak food, how I did it, where I did it, and things like that. I mean, I tell all my secrets. And it just, it's such a need. Unfortunately, it's such a need to eat, literally, I feel calm. It's like a drug, especially sugar. Sugar I call Satan's food because it has the same effect on our brain waves as people that use, I think, cocaine. I think they had a brain study that showed people on cocaine with their brain waves and people who ingested a lot of sugar. And
oh my
it looked
God.
the same.
I
Isn't that scary?
I just had a birthday and I got more chocolate, but then I got Godiva chocolate. Oh, my heart. And I can see that. It's like, oh, okay. But, well, let's get to your success. How did you change?
Well, after writing the book and facing myself, and hearing people say to me, well, you just don't love yourself enough. And with all honesty, and I do not mean this in any way in a conceited way, I said, no, actually I do. I think I'm a pretty doggone awesome lady. I've accomplished some things in my life that were important to me. I'm there for everybody around me. Am I going to let the world determine who I am and what a success or a non-success I am by my weight? I don't think so. I want people to see me for who I am, and I want people in the world to see other people for who they really are. Because let's face it, we all have a cross to bear. We all have something that we're trying to fix, work on, improve. And these days it's really hard, especially for women, to be a woman in this country, because if you're not a certain size, you're frowned upon. But the reality is most of us are not that size. There's no way most of us in this world are size 2 or size 6 or even a 12, because the studies prove 80% of the people are considered overweight. So why are we not the majority?
I think they purposely make those clothes smaller just to screw with us.
Well,
I can't buy any clothes in California, but if I go to Michigan, I can find all the clothes I want.
Yep, it's true. Because in California, everybody, especially Southern California, is expected to be very tiny, petite.
I call it the land of stick people.
There you go. Which I am not.
Have you ever seen, I'm sorry, have you ever seen those movie stars up close? You know, they look good. And then I had a store there, and then they would come into my store, and it's like, oh, honey, please put more clothes on. We don't want to see your bones, okay?
I
And
know.
it's like, ah, but anyway, yeah, so it is to sick people. Um, so what advice can you give to people to help them move forward with their weight issues?
The first thing I'd like to say is you got to stop seeking self-esteem. Instead, you got to start seeking self-recognition. You got to look deep inside of you and take an assessment of yourself and find the things about you that you really love. And the things that you don't like about yourself, instead of seeing it as something to stab yourself about, instead say, okay, these are my weaknesses. These are the areas where I have an opportunity to grow and get stronger and get better at who I am simply for who I am. And then you got to remember that when you're carrying your baggage, it's time maybe to repack those bags. Start packing them a little lighter. Start thinking thin. And when I say think thin, it's not about weight loss or about being thin. It's about thinking in the terms of when we're healthy, when we're lighter, we feel better. Our weight can hinder us from feeling our best. I may never get to my goal weight, but I sure as heck don't want to gain that other remaining 150 pounds that I've lost. I know I don't feel my best carrying the baggage I'm carrying now. So every day I'm going to do my best to try to do better than I've done before. And there'll be some days that I just am stellar, and there's some days that I'm not. And guess what? The person down the street or around the corner that comes up to me, they're not going to notice and they're not going to care. They care about what they're worried about. So why are we worried so much about what other people think?
Were you, how were you treated differently when you were very, very heavy?
You know, it's interesting. A lot of it, I think, because of my personality, I tend to, make friends very easily and talk to people very easily. People come up to me when I'm heavy. When I'm outright fat, they come up to me almost like a mother, like somebody that they can come and cry on my shoulder or tell me their life story. I mean, it even happens in line at the grocery store. People feel very, that I'm very relatable, which I absolutely cherish that, because I love that people feel that comfortable that they can open up to me. When I'm thin, I get a lot of attention from men. And, I'm happily married. Thank you very much. It's very flattering when you're thin. But man, oh man, I hate the fact that there's been times in my life, many, many times, where before I got married and met my wonderful husband, where a man would say to me, you've got the most beautiful eyes, if only you'd lose weight. Or I love your smile, if only you'd lose weight. Well, that's not the person I want to be with, because regardless, I want to be loved for simply who I am. And if I gain weight, lose weight, if we lose hair, if a guy gets bald or gets a punch, are we supposed to love him less because, we need to get real. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh my God, I had this really great question for you, and I'm sure it will come back. Um, Oh, yeah. Would you recommend people joining a weight loss group or some kind of support group?
Absolutely. Whatever it takes to make you feel comfortable. Some people feel comfortable going to a group. They feel that that sense of having to be accountable to somebody or something. And if that works for you, that's great. There's a lot of us that feel uncomfortable being in a group setting because, we feel that ashamed, or we don't want anyone else to know our secrets, or it makes us uncomfortable. Whatever it takes to make you feel good about you, to help support you in any endeavor, whatever that may be, that's the path that's meant for you. Some people, that are overweight won't go to a gym because they're embarrassed to exercise in front of other people. Me, I'm not embarrassed to exercise in front of other people. And I'm also happy to do it at home too. Whatever makes you comfortable with you, because you are the one that matters. What anybody else thinks, they might think it. They might come up and, say, oh, yeah, she could stand to lose some weight. And guess what? 2 seconds later, they're not going to care. But I will tell you, a lot of times people, when they make a judgment call, when they first see someone, and they go, oh, they're kind of fat. Once they get to know them and they like them, they don't see the weight anymore. They see the person.
So how can people get your book?
Well, I'm on Amazon as well as in Barnes & Noble, both of them online, and Barnes & Noble in some of the stores. And I just want people to think about one thing. Don't tell me a woe. Oh, woe is me. I can't do this. I can't move. I can't. I don't want to hear that. I want people to tell me a wow. Tell me why they're a wow. And then build on that wow every single day. What makes you fantastic? What makes you special to the people around you that know you? We all have something about us that's absolutely remarkable, that can be shared and embraced. Tell me that wow, not the woe.
Now,
and I hope...
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You've gone through this journey. How supportive have doctors been?
It's funny because I have found that my doctors that I have for various different things have been very supportive. And they never tell me, Linda, you should lose weight. Linda, that's what I used to hear in the old days. Now they tell me things more like, you know what, you got a stress fracture in your ankle from working out with a trainer, and it was too much on you. Start doing exercises in the pool. You'll get just as well trained, and you won't put any risk on your joints. And you know what? We have to find what works for us. And I'm finding that the doctors have been very, very supportive. Of course, they want me to lose weight. A lot of aches and pains and owies would go away if I could get the weight off of me. But they also seem to be more realistic. So they offer ideas, suggestions. It's been pretty cool. It's a big change from how it used to be. Lose weight, your problems, that common cold you have would go away if you just lose some weight.
Do you have any favorite recipes?
Absolutely. One of my very favorite recipes is to take boneless, skinless chicken thighs. And if you like spinach and if you like low-fat Swiss cheese, you take the chicken thighs and you brown them up with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then you stuff them with some spinach that you puree with a little bit of, once you cook the spinach and it's nice and hot, puree the spinach with a little bit of Swiss cheese and a piece of ham, and you take the ham and you take half a slice of the Swiss cheese and you put it in that chicken thigh, and then you take the rest of the puree and pour it on top. You'll be having as if you're having chicken cordon bleu with so low calories and not extra fat and beautifully seasoned, and it looks very, very elegant and super easy to make, and you just bake it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes.
What kind of desserts do you eat, or do you just try to stay away from them now?
No, I don't believe in staying away from anything. I used to just try to stay away from everything, and I'm just finding that the older I get, the more I really appreciate the beauty of good food and so forth. But I do try to make better choices. If I am going to make a dessert, I really, really try to just keep to a very small piece of whatever it is, or just a tasting. I've gone to restaurants with friends, and they'll order these desserts, and I'm always to say, you know what, I'll just have a spoonful. And I'm okay with that. And, you know, I got my little taste without it totally destroying me and all my hard work.
You had to train yourself, though, and I think the bypass surgery helped you do that, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the nice thing about bypass surgery for patients is that, you know, people think it's an easy solution and a quick fix, but it's not. It's a really hard decision to you know, change the way your organs are from within. And then once you make that decision, you can't eat, you can't hold things down. It's very, very difficult that first year to be able to just even hold a few teaspoons of anything down. And then afterwards, as your body adjusts to it and you heal up and you start eating again, it's amazing how some things you can eat, some things you can't. I know people that couldn't eat anything with sugar or anything that had been in oil or fried. And I found after a year that I could eat just about anything I wanted, but a very, very tiny portion. So if I took for instance, a children's cheeseburger instead of the big honking cheeseburger I used to eat and cut it into quarters, I usually would eat half of that quarter. And if there was fries, I'd maybe have 2, 3 fries at the very, very most. And I was satisfied, and I was stuffed, and I wasn't gaining weight back. It was wonderful.
Now, when you achieve your weight, do you have to go back into the hospital and get another operation to have anything reversed?
No. You know, my problem, and for most people that have bariatric surgery, is when you start to gain weight back. I've known people that have had the surgery 4 times because they've gained their weight back, most of their weight and even more. And so it's not a fix. It's just a tool to help a person that's, you know, really struggles with their weight. But with that said, for myself, I mean, I could literally call my doctor and say, hey, I want to have this done a second time. The last time I did it was over 10 years ago, and the last and first time. Can I do it again? And if they said yes, okay, you go under and so forth. But that doesn't solve the problem. The problem is what's within us. It's our relationship with food. Unless we change the relationship we have with food and start to make better choices, we're not going to lose weight. We're not going to get anywhere. We're going to just continue a cycle. The only difference is we had a tool help us get through a period of time. You have to change the way you see food and the way you use food. That's what put the weight back on me. I hit a hard emotional time in my life, and boy, oh boy, I started scarfing things down little by little. But it's, instead of eating fruit, I started finding, M&Ms. Sorry, M&M company, but it's true. You don't feel like you're eating a lot of M&Ms as you munch on them all day long, but a piece of fruit will fill you up.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that make sense?
Absolutely. What do you feel was your biggest change, or is your biggest change? Because it's like a lifelong journey.
It is, especially if it's someone that's had to deal with weight their whole lives. And I think most importantly, you have to get to the point where it's not about the weight anymore. Some of us are going to have a life where we don't deal with weight at all. We might deal with other things. Everybody does. But you got to get to the point where you stop making weight so empowering over your life, and you have to take back the streets. And that first step comes from just accepting the fact that you have a problem, that it needs to be solved, or at least move in the right direction and do the best you can. And then start searching for what's in you that's more important than just the visual of weight. If if I lose weight now and get to my goal and am, got this beautiful body at my age, I would turn around and do you think that that's what really matters? No. I care more about my health than I do about the way I look. I care about how my health is changing more than I do the way I look. I'm 58 years old. I'm not, 20. I'm not 30. I'm 58 years old. At this time in my life, it's my health. When you're a lot younger, I would say probably it's more because you want to look good, and it's different. We go through stages of life, but the bottom line is no matter how old you are, you've got to take a good hard look at yourself inside of you and find what's so beautiful. This body that I have might be overweight. It might be 100 pounds still overweight than where I was. But this body carries me every single day. It gets me through my day. It helps me do the things I need to do, and it still puts up with me no matter what. I got to love it. I got to love it no matter what.
I like that. And I like how, you say changing my relationship with food.
It's critical. It's critical. We get so caught up in our busy day-to-day stuff and the responsibilities of life that we forget to just sit back and take a moment and appreciate just that moment. Because sometimes you can get on a diet and, you've heard people do this all the time. They start a diet and by 10 a.m. they've already broken it. Okay, so is that the end of the world? No. Every single day is like New Year's Day. You can make up your mind that today's the new day. As a matter of fact, I decided as of August 1st that it's going to be New Year's Day mid-year.
Makes sense to me. I was born in July.
There you go. Happy birthday, belated. But let's make resolutions. People say I don't like to make resolutions because I break them. Well, stop making resolutions. Make a goal that each day, each moment of that day, that you're not going to be just lost in the grind of trying to get from the beginning of the day to the end, but that you're going to appreciate that time and appreciate the people around you and the things that you do. When you're at work, working hard to get ahead and make a living, give yourself credit that you're working hard to get ahead and make a living. Embrace the good parts of all the things in life that we feel so responsible to.
So you've got a website.
I do, and I hope people come and check it out. It's lindamissawagner.com. I hope I hear from lots of you out there that, I want to hear your stories. I want to hear how you feel. I want to hear your successes. And if you're struggling, I want to hear about that too, because we're all in this together and we can help one another.
Let's spell the website out. It's
Linda, N as in Mary, I, S as in Sam, L as in Linda, EH, WAG, N as in Nancy, ER. So lindamissawagner.com.
Well, I think that's wonderful, and I think it's really great of you to allow yourself to be a support for so many people.
We're here to help each other, right? We want the best for ourselves, and we got to want it just as much for the person standing next to us. That's what it's about.
Now, you mentioned, and I know we probably have 2 minutes left, but I'm curious, you said when you lost all the weight that you also got rid of your diabetes. Now, do you think because you changed your eating habits and started eating better that, the diabetes went away?
No, it was strictly the gastric bypass. I got to tell you, 80% of patients that have it, that are diabetic, get rid of their diabetes. And they're not quite sure why, because you do absorb the calories. You don't absorb the nutrients of food, but you do absorb the calories of food. And they have just found that even people that go back to really bad eating habits, myself included, that's how I put on, 100 pounds back, the diabetes doesn't come back for 80% of the people. But with that said, it doesn't mean that it can't come back or cause other problems. So right now, for myself, I'm a very lucky lady. that I'm, healthy and well. And I am. I'm healthy and well despite this extra weight. But, that doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. And so that means at this point, like I said, I care more about my health. It's incumbent on me to take care of myself better than I have before, especially now. And I tell everybody out there, I don't care whether you're that 14-year-old teenager that went to Weight Watchers, to try to get a grip on this. Get a grip on it. And, I'm not here to advocate losing weight because I suck at it, obviously. But I am advocating to find that inner strength and to really embrace it and do the best you can for yourself moment by moment. Sometimes it's moment by moment, literally, no matter how old you are. You've got nothing to lose, right?
It's true. I always say this is the planet of addiction. So you're either been there, you are there, you're going to be there, or you're in denial. And honestly, food, I think, is one of the biggest addictions we have. What happens when we don't get it? You get cramps.
Well, and it's even more so, most people that suffer with food addiction, there's a difference between food addiction and any other addiction. With food addiction, the problem is you can't just stop. It's not like alcohol and smoking and gambling. You could stop those things and live. You have to eat to survive. So finding that place where you say, no, that's enough, and are strong enough to push it away and fight against that addiction is a very, very hard thing to do. As a matter of fact, binge eating disorder is the hardest addiction for addiction counselors to help patients with and to help them overcome, more than anorexia and more than bulimia.
Gosh, and on that note, Linda, we are over for this hour. Thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you so much for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate it.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap, Let Light Unite show on Revolution Radio at Freedom's Lips, Hour 2, August 2nd, 2016. Now, Revolution Radio is listener-sponsored, and we really do depend on your donations to stay on air. And none of us gets paid. We're all volunteer. So go to Revolution Radio's website, and they have a donation button, and click it. Even a cup of coffee, Starbucks, everything is so appreciated. Without you, we wouldn't be on air. That's how it is. So we have a mutually beneficial relationship. You donate to keep everybody on air, and we just bring you some incredible programs. And again, just go to their donation button, press it, and give a little. What goes around comes around. You want to know more about me? You can catch me at my website, www.angelightom.com. That's ANGELITEOM.com. And I have my really cool Angel Light healing tools that will take you out of pain, and anybody can be a healer with those. And you can use them for massage, and it just helps release all that stuck energy. It makes you feel good, and they glow in the dark because I put plankton in it. And yes, they are all goddess made. Have one of my books you can download for free, and it's a book of spiritual basics. I like to look at my books as just helping you remember what you've forgotten. That's all. And you can also get my curse removal on my website, and you can download that for free and just look under free healing. So you can communicate with me through Facebook and Google Plus, LinkedIn. Oh, what else is there? Oh, yeah, God, Twitter. Yes, I am a Twitter whore. I am on there. And of course, Facebook. If you got a Geiger counter, I'm really serious. Send me the information. Send me the readings that you get. and let me announce it on air, or even send it to Bob Nichols so he can update his readings. We cannot depend on the government to do it because they ain't doing it. And when somebody in the government thinks that it's okay to raise the radiation level up for us to breathe, is acceptable, I mean, God, they're smoking some really bad stuff. Just because they say so doesn't mean it's true. That just means they are insane and we're not going to buy it. They want to put radiation in our water. If there's an emergency, it's okay to put as much radiation in the water without cleaning it up. God, what is their love for radiation? We've got nuclear plants leaking. We've got Fukushima going on. You've got the military bombing people all over with nuclear material. Have you ever thought about all that? I mean, how friggin' reptilian can that be? They are destroying the planet and they don't give a rat's ass. Oh my God, just everybody got me going ghetto today. Ooh, I don't think I've sworn so much as I've been on air as I have today. So if there was somebody that actually had one of those little buttons that went, censor, I would be censored a few times tonight. But since they don't, I will just move on. But it's crazy with all this nuclear material. And again, you got to speak up. If you don't speak up, they are going to send nuclear material liquid. I mean, if there was an accident and that stuff spilled, you could not drive on that highway anymore. And all you would have to do is be next to that truck. And you can get radiated. And they want to ship it. And we're talking like 150 trucks to travel between Ontario, Canada. And if you don't know where Ontario, Canada is, all right, how about Detroit, Michigan? But farther north in Canada. Okay. So, all the way from Detroit, let's say, for those of you that don't know very well maps and stuff, all the way down to Savannah Riverside in South Carolina. We're talking, you know how many states they're going to go through? And they're going to go through small towns. They don't care. Do you want radioactive trucks going through your neighborhood? You want your children exposed? You could be driving down, going to grandma's house, and drive by these trucks, and you are going to get radiated, and whoever else is in your car. Think about it. It's like driving a car from Japan. And just think if you were in a car from Japan after it was made in Japan that was radiated and nuked, so you're driving in a nuclear car, and then you get more nuked by driving by these trucks full of liquid radioactive material. And whoever said this was okay needs to go to jail for a while, because that really, that's insane. Lack of thought of life, totally. We're talking an accident waiting to happen, sort of what happened with Fukushima and putting all those nuclear reactors right on the edge of their island and then getting hit with a tsunami. It's just crazy and insane. And if you don't speak up, wow, what can I'm certainly glad I'm in Hawaii. That's all I can say. So I would suggest for those of you that are living in the South and the Northwest, anywhere in Indiana, Illinois, any of the southern routes, Kentucky, let's see what goes past Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, I would give Mary Olson a call and say, Mary, honey, what can we do to stop this? Guide me and let's do it. Put in some effort. Her number is 828-252-8409. And you can tell her I told you to call her, and she'll be delighted. Trust me, she will be delighted to hear from you. They need volunteers. They need help to stop this. And it can be stopped if enough people put some effort into it. And it's your kids, it's yourself, it's your relatives, your friends. It shouldn't be done, period. Speak up, guys. Or not. Oh, yeah. So you can also get a hold of her at www.nirs.org or safeenergy.org. And that's Mary Olson. What I want to do now, before I tell you some of the rest of the news, is let's do the energy balancing curse removal. I don't know about you, but I certainly could go through it. And what that does, it clears you the energy out. It removes energy you've taken on that's not yours. It opens up all your chakras, clears your path out. So your life is easier and you feel better. You're going to feel lighter because you've gotten rid of all that negative goo, that negative energy that you've taken on that's not yours. So for those of you that are going to participate, I want you to put your feet flat on the floor, sit down, put your back up straight, put your hands in your lap, palms up like you're going to receive, because you are. And I want you to start taking some gentle, deep breaths, and not so you hyperventilate on me, okay? Inhale light and exhale out everything that no longer serves you. And imagine that energy going through the violet flame, the purple flame, back to God, and you fill up with light. So keep doing that until I tell you to stop. And as you're doing that, I surround each and every one of you in a bubble of golden flame. I add to that the blue flame of protection, the violet flame of transmutation, the green flame of healing, and I seal you in the pink flame of love. I call to all your teachers, guides, masters, and we invite them in, the angels that work with you, and ask that they help make this energy work as gentle, loving, and kind as possible. So take one more deep breath, and this time as you exhale, release anything else that's left in your body that no longer serves you. And imagine that energy going through the violet flame back to God, and you keep filling up with more of your divine essence. So I want you to imagine this incredible divine healing energy coming down from God, coming into the top of your head. And as it flows through your brain, allow it, every cell, atom, molecule of your brain, to reconnect with the Creator. And as it reconnects, it recharges, it regenerates. It opens you up to new possibilities, and you're able to move forward in joy. Now allow that energy to flow out your third eye and your forehead. And feel the energy flow down, and feel it come out of your throat chakra now. And feel that energy flow down even farther, so now it comes out of your heart chakra. And now feel that energy flow out of your solar plexus chakra. Feel the energy drop even lower, so now it flows out of your belly button chakra. And feel that energy flow down even farther, so it comes out of your sacral chakra. And now allow that energy to flow down even farther, so it comes out of your root chakra. And feel that energy now flow all the way down your legs, out your feet, and send it into the earth. Feel it flow down your arms and out your hands, and just allow it to flow down your spine. So I want you to take one more deep breath. And this time as you exhale, feel everything that's left in your body that no longer serves you being gently released as you exhale, then breathe normal. And as you're doing that, I call to Michael the Archangel to come forth and cut all ties to any energy you've taken on that's not yours, whether it's from a friend, relative, acquaintance, stranger, anybody you work with, TV set, animal, whatever the karmic reason is that created anything out of balance in your life or your body today. And as all that unwanted energy is peeled off of you gently like an onion skin, it all goes through the violet flame back to God, and you fill up with your divine essence. Now I want Michael to come forth, cut all ties to reptile, dinosaur energy, secret societies, organized religion, cut all ties to any oaths, vows, curses, hexes, rituals that could have been done to you or your family. Going backwards and forwards, hundreds of thousands of generations, or anything you could have done, consciously or unconsciously. And as all that unwanted energy too's peeled off of you gently like an onion skin, it all goes through the violet flame back to God, and you fill up with more of your divine essence. Now I want Michael to come forth, cut all ties to any effigies that have been misused against you, and that's any elemental of yours that was used to hurt you or anyone, including anything you own. Clothes, hair, picture, your name spoken, written, just thought of, or anything you have your energy on. And as ties to all those elementals are cut, I call the violet flame through them to clean it up, the angel light energy to heal. We release all that unwanted energy back to God, fill them up with love, and I command them to be neutral or only emit love. And now I want Michael to come forth and cut all ties to any and remove any energy implants that have been done to you or anything that could have carried over from any other lifetime because of dark magic, voodoo, or dark witchcraft, or even just dark thoughts. I want the stick, pin, needle, or knife that's in your crown chakra removed from your third eye, your throat, heart, solar plexus, belly button, root, feet, hands, spine, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, hips, teeth, anywhere in your body that's out of balance. And as you feel all those pins, needles, and knives being very gently removed, imagine all those spaces immediately fill up with the violet flame to clean it up, the angel light energy to heal. We release all that unwanted energy back to God, and you fill up with more of your divine essence. Now I want Michael to come forth, cut all ties to patriarchy, genocide, rape, incest, slavery, prostitution, persecution, circumcision, removing any energy overlay that's trying to manipulate you, keeping you from connecting with God, healing yourself, being really successful, fulfilling all your divine missions, or living your life in joy. And as all that unwanted energy is gently released, it's keeping all these wonderful things from coming to you. We also send it through the violet flame back to God, and you keep filling up with more of your divine essence. If there's anybody out there that's directing any kind of dark energy at you, whether it's through magic, ritual, or just dark thoughts, we're going to ask them to step forward in the light and stop doing it. Because if they're doing it to you, they are doing it to other people. And if they choose to continue their dark work, which is their free will, I ask their higher self and their guardian angel to put them in a position of harmlessness. Surround them in a bubble of mirror. The mirror faces them, and it's 2 inches from their nose. And as long as they do that dark work, that energy stays contained in that bubble of mirror. But we add the violet flame to it to transmute any of that out of balance energy so it has no forward movement. And this bubble of mirror stays up 24/7, 365 days a year until they do works of good. I called your higher self and asked your higher self now to activate your divine blueprint for perfect health. And it starts manifesting in your body now. Allow that energy to integrate in a very gentle, kind, loving way with your cells, your atoms, your molecules, all your internal organs going all the way down into your DNA. And with every breath, feel more of that divine energy just integrate. Feel yourself starting to ground as earth energy comes up. And with every breath, that earth energy just keeps getting higher up on your legs, and you feel yourself becoming very centered, very clear-headed, very back in body. All righty. Awesome. So if you guys have some hematite around, which I really strongly suggest you go get if you don't have it, hematite is a wonderful stone for grounding, and it will pull you back in body. And if you don't have that, then you might want to go grab something to eat real quick. Turn the radio up so you can still hear me, of course. And then at the end of the show, go hug a tree real quick. And you don't have to, be crazy huggy. And if you want to be very nonchalant, just put your hands on the tree like you're stretching or whatever. And imagine yourself sending your excess energy into the tree. You'd only have to do that for 30 seconds. And then ask the tree to send you energy back, and you will ground. You'll be very clear-headed, very calm. And you should not be lightheaded, okay, at the end, after you ground. I don't know where you're at now. Anyway. Whew, that felt good. Do, 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 do. Now I got some good news I'm going to share, and then we'll get into the icky news. I did bring up that the governor, the 6 Flint government employees got indicted, criminally charged. And the next thing we would like to see is, Governor Schneider, who is actually responsible for it all continuing, needs to go down. It's like, these are the little guys. Yeah, they are responsible for sure. But Rick Snyder, he is the man responsible. So real quick, we're going to ask Michael the Archangel to come in and cut the ties with whatever big money is keeping this man in power, and the black magic and the satanic magic that's keeping him in power. We're going to call the violet flame through him, around him, and we're going to anchor it in his office, in his home. Everywhere he goes, the violet flame is going to blaze to transmute any dark energy. We're going to call the goddess of truth into his life to bring everything up to the surface this man's done, and in a way that justice is served. We're going to peel off that energy, all that black magic, all the veils of protection, and see him being criminally charged for crimes against the people of Flint. All right, so be it. Woo. Now, Ireland, go Ireland, go Ireland, go Ireland, go Ireland. They began arresting top bankers responsible for the 2008 crash. Whoa! I mean, my God, a top banker? Please, they're like the untouchables. But they've been going down. Ireland is following in Iceland's footsteps by jailing its top bankers, again, responsible for the 2008 crash. Following from last year's mass incarceration of 26 bankers in Iceland. Go Iceland, go Iceland, you guys rock. Ireland is going to prosecute the 2005 to 2008 CEO of Anglo-Irish Bank, David Drum, on 33 criminal charges. These include 2 charges of conspiracy to defraud, and false accounting relating to $7.2 billion in deposits placed in Anglo-Irish bank accounts by the then Irish Life and Permanent between March and September 2008. False accounting. Holy, 7.2 billion. Wow. 16 of the 33 charges relate to unlawfully authorizing billions in loans to be invested back into Anglo-Irish Bank to 16 wealthy investors in a bid to artificially prop up Anglo-Irish Bank's share price before its December 2008 collapse. Each of the 33 offenses carries a 5 or 10-year jail term, except for a single count of conspiracy to defraud, which has a maximum penalty of an unlimited term of imprisonment under Irish law. I like that one for those guys. Unlimited term of imprisonment. I think that's kind of like the Patriot Act, right? Where they just kind of don't like you, you disappear wherever for unlimited until they let you go. According to Cape Cod Times, Anglo-Irish Bank was nationalized in January 2009, but the financial crisis before and after the nationalization destroyed Ireland's economy, with taxpayers forced to shoulder cost of $32 billion to cover bad debt and repay investors. The collapse of its economy forced Ireland to take EU and IMF bailout packages worth up to $77 billion in November 2010. Oh my God. Hide and seek with a swindler. Drum stepped down from the English-Irish banks in December 2008, leaving Ireland for Boston in June 2009 after the bank's collapse. The collapse was said to cost Irish citizens around $30 billion, close to 1/5 of Ireland's annual output. In 2010, he filed for bankruptcy under U.S. law. Wow. You have, like billions, and you are file for bankruptcy. Wow. However, a Boston court dismissed his application in early 2015, saying he had lied and acted in a fraudulent manner, you think, in his bid to be declared bankrupt in the United States, finding Drum not remotely credible. I mean, my God, if he can swindle a country out of $30 billion, not even remotely credible is going too high. Now, the court ruled that he could be held liable for debts of $10.5 million in Ireland. How absurd. He screwed the country out of $32 billion, and he's only got to pay $10.5 million. Wow. Subsequently, Ireland sent an extradition file to the U.S. government outlining charges to be prepared against Drum on 33 different offenses. Consequently, Drum was arrested by U.S. Marshals in October 2015, spending much of the next 5 months in a maximum security prison south of Boston. Woohoo! Though he began a series of court requests to fight extradition and be allowed bail, he changed his mind after 2 failed attempts to secure bail and came back to Ireland in March 2016 to contest the charges. A day after his extradition back to Dublin from the U.S., Drum walked free from the prison after securing bail in Ireland when his parents-in-law agreed to $100,000 independent surety from their joint bank account to satisfy the bail conditions. The father of two daughters also provided his own cash surety of £50,000. Wow. Drum faces 2 trials, one at Easter 2017 and the second in January 2018. These will be in relation to the 33 offenses he committed during his time as chief executive of Anglo-Irish Bank. The trial will involve 120 witnesses and minutes from up to 15 company meetings, millions of documents. Wow, that tells you money can get you out of almost anything, can't it? His friends definitely just kind of got him out of that one, didn't it? They began arresting him, but this top guy doesn't look like he's really out of there, does it? Well, we're going to ask that all magic that's surrounding this dude is removed, and the goddess of truth gets into his life, brings everything out to the surface, and wherever he's got money hid, let it be discovered and brought to the surface in a way where justice is actually served, and that man just goes to prison again for good. How this story came across, and it really is sad, but in this time and day and age, who can you trust, right? How do you know who people are when you talk to them over the internet? You usually don't. You could be talking to this hot guy that you think that couldn't be turned out to be a 90-year-old grandma who's got her stepson's grandson's picture, and she loves mind screwing women. Predators are everywhere. And by God, especially in this time and age, if you're an activist, you better be careful if you let in your inner circle. So this is called 6 Years is Undercover Cop Spying on Her and Her Friends. 6 years, an undercover cop spies on her and her friends. Now, the most traumatizing time of Lisa Jones' life began when she agonized for months over the true identity of her boyfriend. They had been together for 6 years. She loved him totally, completely, more than anyone. He was the closest person in the world to me, she says, the person who knew me better than anyone else. I thought I knew him better than anyone else knew him, but she had first begun to suspect that he was lying about who he really was. This is the first interview Lisa, who wants to retain her anonymity, has given to the media. Only now, 5 years later, does she feel ready to describe how she was and been devastated by the deception. She speaks elegantly, though the pain is still evident. Her boyfriend, Mark, always had a slight mysterious side to him. In their last few months together, his behavior was at times erratic, but at other times, their relationship was blissful. In what she describes as a constant seesaw from one state to another, she oscillated between desperately wanting to believe the story he had told her about himself and wondering whether he had completely deceived her about a fundamental part of his life. Reduced to a fragile state, she struggled with her dilemma. Am I fighting to save this relationship, or am I trying to figure out who he is? I am either putting my energies into this relationship or I am investigating him. I can't do both. The truth was not disclosed to her by him. Instead, she and her friends found out through their own detective work and a chance discovery. They established that he was Mark Kennedy, an undercover policeman who had been sent to spy on her circle of activist friends for 7 years. He had adopted a fake persona to infiltrate environmental groups. Their unmasking of him 5 years ago kickstarted a chain of events that has exposed one of the state's most deeply concealed secrets. Back then, the public knew little bit about a covert operation that had been running since 1968. Only a limited number of senior police officers knew about it. Kennedy was one of more than 100 undercover officers who over the previous 4 decades had transformed themselves into fake campaigners for years at a time, assimilating themselves into political groups and hovering up informations about protests that they helped to organize. More than 10 women have discovered that they had relationships with undercover policemen, some lasting years, without being told their true identity. On Friday, it was announced that police had agreed to give a full apology and pay compensation to Lisa and 6 other women for the trauma they suffered after being deceived into forming intimate relationships with police spies. Lisa, for her part, welcomed the apology, but it comes more than a decade, and that's 10 years, y'all, after Kennedy's mission began. No amount of money or sorry will make up for the lack of answers about the extent to which I was spied upon in every aspect of my most personal and intimate moment, she says. Kennedy first infiltrated a group of environmental campaigners in Nottingham in 2003. The fake persona he chose was that of a long-haired tattoo professional climber by the name of Mark Stone. Among campaigners, he earned the nickname Flash, as he always seemed to have a lot of money. In the autumn of 2003, Lisa met Kennedy when he visited Leeds, where she was living. Then in her early 30s, she had for some years been active in environmental, anti-capitalist, and anti-nuclear campaigns. Her first impressions were that he was very charming, very friendly, and familiar in a way that was quite disarming. Kennedy had a number of sexual relationships while undercover. The longest was with Lisa. During his deployment, he spent more time with me than anybody else, and probably more time than everyone else together, she said. He slotted very easily into a group of friends who went climbing in their spare time. He got to know her family. When her father died, Kennedy was in the mourner's car with her. He was the one who held me as I cried through the night and helped me pick myself up again after that, Lisa says. He would go away every few weeks. The longest time was 3 months, working, but kept in regular contact through phone calls, emails, and texts. They went abroad together, sometimes just the two of them, cycling or climbing, and sometimes for protests. Over time, he gained a reputation as a committed environmental activist, but secretly, he was passing back to his police handlers information about the protests and their political activities. His covert mission was terminated in October 2009 when he was summoned by his handlers to a meeting at an anonymous truck stop. That month, he disappeared abruptly from his house in Nottingham. In the weeks before his disappearance, he had been agitated and distant with his friends. Lisa recalls he had quite an emotional crash, it seems. Some days he would not get out of bed. That was very out of character. He was usually quite bright and chirpy, an early riser type, an energetic person, but he was quite upset quite a lot of the time. I would comfort him. It really felt to me that I was seeing him through a difficult time and a breakdown. He lent on me very heavily. He appeared to be very paranoid. The police had raided his house after he was arrested at a protest, and he said he was worried that they were delving into his background and income. He said he needed a break and he was going to the U.S. to stay with his brother for a while. Lisa says that the day before he flew, he was behaving very, very strangely, claiming that he was being followed. When he went, I was really, really worried about his sanity. I thought he had probably lost it. I kept saying to him that it looks to me as if you're not coming back. He had sold his car, apparently left his job, and half cleared out his house, and the other half I had to do. In January 2010, he mysteriously reappeared. What Lisa and the other campaigners did not know at the time was that Kennedy was quitting the police to avoid being assigned to a humdrum desk job. But he had not discarded his fictional persona of Mark Stone and continued to be involved in political campaigns. He has admitted that he was employed by a clandestine private security firm that was paid by commercial firms to monitor protesters. To Lisa, however, he was different, volatile, up and down a lot of the time. Obviously, he was being much less supervised and much less directed, and I still don't think he knew what he was doing at the time. He was rudderless. I was still so bruised from him losing his marbles and disappearing that I was in some ways waiting for an explanation, somehow trying to figure out what was going on with him and whether he was all right. I always knew that Mark had a slight air of mystery. I knew there was something that one day he might open up about, something that had happened. The key of discovery that eventually led to Kennedy's exposure was made by Lisa when the two of them were on holiday in a van in 2010. We were having this really blissful holiday in Italy. We were up in the mountains, just the two of us. He had gone off for a cycle ride, and I was looking in the glove compartment box for some sunglasses. I guess that was where maybe a bit of me that was a little unsure about what was going on with him was rooting around, and I saw his passport. The old passport was in the unfamiliar name of Mark Kennedy, but there was something even more chilling in there. The thing that made my stomach come into my mouth was seeing that he had a child. The character of Mark Stone wasn't one that would have had a child. That's such a big thing to have happen, and have known somebody that long and have them not mention they had a child. That's enormous. She found a mobile phone that he had not seemed to use much and found emails from two children calling him dad. I did not know what to think. I remember feeling that the world was suddenly a really long way away. I just remember that the mountains were pulsating and swimming around me. It was the first time she considered that he might be an undercover cop, but quickly dismissed it as something she thought only existed in films. When Kennedy came back from his cycle ride, I really did not know what to say to him. I was terrified about what the answer would be and what it would really mean. I just did not say anything for about 2 days. He knew there was something wrong. He was trying to be very nice to me and figure out what was upsetting me. I didn't sleep. He slept and I paced. I remember watching the sun rise and being sick. She confronted him in a bar on what was his real birthday. She demanded to know about his son. He visibly crumbled, he said. I can tell you, but not here, and we went off. Back in the van, he recounted a story. It seemed he had tucked away for years to be used if his fictional persona was ever challenged. He said he had been in a drug runner and that his close associate had been shot in front of him, and that he had promised to look after the dead man's children who had come to think Kennedy as their real father. I was desperate for an explanation that sounded plausible. Fantastically as it now sounds in the retelling, one of the reasons it seemed plausible was the amount of emotion that poured out of him when he told me, Lisa said. It seemed as if he had finally opened up after all the hints of a dodgy past. I held him as he cried for about 8 hours through the night. We sat up, talked. He cried and I cried. It felt like we had really shared something, so I really didn't analyze the facts at this point particularly strong. But for the rest of the summer, she had nagging feelings that his story did not add up. She challenged him, but he always had an answer. She swung between believing their relationship was better than ever and thinking something still is not right. In September, they had another happy holiday in Italy. You would think by now she'd be staying away from Italy, right? I was floating on air when we came back. A week later, she was visiting a friend who was, by chance, doing ancestry research online. She did not know what came over her, but she asked the friend to look up Mark Stone's birth certificate. Nothing came back. With her friend's help, she started to dig into his life. She still could not believe he was a policeman, thinking, he has been with me for so long. There's absolutely no way they would put a cop in for that long. Surprise! She yearned to find some piece of information that would provide an explanation and clear her suspicions about him. For a few weeks, she went about her life talking regularly on the phone to Kennedy, but feeling she was in this little bubble where nothing was real. Eventually, they found a birth certificate for Kennedy's son, which recorded Kennedy's occupation as being a police officer. Now, she wanted him to explain. He was pretending to be in the U.S., but she had found out that he was actually in Ireland with his children and a strange wife. At her insistence, he returned late one night to a house in Nottingham, where she and a group of friends began to question him. For what felt like hours, he refused to admit anything. Then one of the groups asked him directly when he joined the police. He confessed and later cried. The others left Lisa alone with them. She was shocked. I wanted him to stay. I knew that the moment he left, the whole world was going to change. I was just trying to delay the moment. Kennedy went on to sell his story to the media and to work for a U.S. security firm after he was unmasked in October 2010. Lisa set about trying to put her life back together. Her experience with Kennedy made her feel very small, but the other women in the legal action have been a valuable source of support. Gotta love those support groups. Lisa, who comes across as warm-hearted and thoughtful, rejects suggestions that she could have unmasked Kennedy earlier, or that his deception was no different from those of many other cheating husbands. The difference, she says, is that his deceptions was supported by the resources of the state. Undercover officers who infiltrate political groups were issued with fake documents, such as passports, driving licenses, and bank records that would help to fortify their fabricated alter egos. I had no chance of seeing through that kind of training and infrastructure. But he was rumbled, she points out. After he quit the police and no longer had their support, he had to hand back the paperwork, including the passport, bearing his fake identity as Mark Stone. Lisa has found it difficult to come to terms with the feeling that she had no free will during her relationship with Kennedy. A faceless backroom of cops controlled his movements, deciding when he could go away with her or which demonstrations they could go on. I just have this feeling that someone else made all the decisions, and it was not me and was not even him. A series of revelations has persuaded the Home Secretary, Theresa May, to order a public inquiry into the conduct of the police spies. This inquiry could reveal far more of the police secrets when it starts to hear evidence in public next year. It is expected to examine how, for example, the undercover officer spied on the family of murdered teenager Stephen Lawrence and stole the identities of dead children. Lisa does not want to pin too much hope on the inquiry uncovering the truth of Kennedy's espionage and his relationship with her. There are so many more questions and answers in this whole thing that I don't think I'm ever going to be in a position where I feel like I know what went on and what it all meant, and that there's nothing more to wonder about. She asked herself how much he genuinely loved her. It is an endless, endless question that I will always be wondering about, that will always keep me awake at night. She has been left with a crushing disappointment and sadness, feeling that her ability to trust others and form relationships has been shattered. You think? I have lost a lot of optimism about all kinds of things, she says. Just the idea that the world is a good place, that love exists, and that love is possible for me. Boy, we're talking about betrayal of some of the highest that you can actually experience. And you know, this is England, but it's going on all over the place. Crazy. I mean, good Lord. And that's why we work so hard on enlightenment. So you guys, go check out the Enlightenment Movement 2016.shutterfly website. Sign up, do the daily prayers. We need to quantum leap the world into enlightenment. It's the only thing that's going to shift. And when that happens, everything else will fall into place. Everything else will be easy because everybody, again, will be reconnected to the Creator. And when you are that, you're an awakened spiritual being, and you know better. You know better to hurt or harm. You know better to poison the earth. You know better to lie, cheat, steal, rape, pillage, plunder. That's not in you anymore. So become active, guys. Also, every day, imagine yourself, if you have to, feel this cord going up from the top of your head, reconnecting with the Creator, and feel that energy just pour into your body. You're an awakened, conscious, spiritual being. Now, ask that for your kids, your family, your friends, people that you work with, people for the planet. See them becoming an awakened spiritual being. You want your life to be easier? Work on enlightenment. Gosh, all you have to do is chant, may divine enlightenment descend around everyone now. May divine enlightenment descend around everyone now. May divine enlightenment be activated within everyone now. May divine enlightenment be activated within everyone now. May divine enlightenment descend around everyone now. That's not hard to chant. You can do that while you're doing the dishes. You can do that while you're driving. You can do that while you're waiting in traffic. Call down that divine high energy around everybody. Do it enough, it'll happen. It'll help us tip. And you think it's going to be over when we go into enlightenment? Oh my God. Hell no. Another $10 in the swear jar. I think I'm up to what, 40, $50 now?
You're hitting it pretty good, girl.
They made me go ghetto today. What can I say?
We'll forgive you. Just put that money in the swear jar.
Oh, my jar? Okay.
Yeah, buy you something nice at the end of the month.
Oh, heck yes. Yeah, I should do that. Another excuse to try to save money. Wow.
Go.
Wow. Well,
I enjoyed your guest tonight immensely.
great.
She was very good to listen to and had a lot of great things to say. And I liked her sense of humor about everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I
if you
bring on.
don't have a sense of humor, you might as well hang it up.
Oh, no kidding. Oh my God. Might as well crawl under the rock and just give up. I think God's got a sense of humor, and I know the angels often,
Look at some of the people created, Kathy. He would have to.
oh, good God, yeah, when you put it that way. There was a little thing I posted on Facebook about this squirrel praying to God, saying, "Please, God, don't let any more stupid people be born, or don't let any. I'm sorry, don't let any more stupid people breed. We have the idiots are starting to outnumber us now."
Yeah, I agree with that.
We're talking the dumbing down. God, breathe a little radiation. Shoot. I mean, people are just stupid.
They don't see beyond today.
They're not trained to think. I mean, you guys did a great job in school training them not to think because they are friggin' there. And the best example I can give is when I had two flat tires on the right side and went to get two brand new tires. And the guy put them back on the same side instead of putting both tires on the back or both tires on the front, like you're supposed to. And I'm going,
did,
what
did,
the F, right?
did
I
you
can't
pull
spend
out your
another $10.
banjo and go down, 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 down,
Oh
down?
my God. I mean, in my head, yes, it was. And I asked, why did you do that? And he said, because nobody told me to do it any differently. And I'm thinking, you got to be a mechanic? Where is your common sense? It ain't here today. I
The most important thing I think you can teach anyone is question everything.
Yeah, but they're brain dead. So how can they question everything?
Good point.
God, we have it. We don't have an easy job trying to do this enlightenment stuff. Oh my God. No, anyway, there's no frustration from me there. Come on, people, join the group. It's
We
in
got a little less than a minute left. Oh, Kathy, I did want to tell you that people can also, once your YouTube, the shows are uploaded and rocking and rolling, people can also buy archives of your show. They can get, like, at the end of the year, they can get that whole year's archives on a CD.
How cool.
I'm not gonna say the price. It's on the main page, and I know if I say the price, I'll say the wrong one.
Well, we don't ever say the wrong thing on my show, do we?
Look at that swear jar and tell me different.
I said the moment, okay? Well, on that note, everybody have a great week and do a lot of random acts of kindness, eh?
All right. Good night, everybody.